Episode 107, as we move into the middle, well, actually the end of January, which is hard to believe. Ted Klopp, Ken Dworsnik. Ted, shout out. I got a couple of good ones for Cleveland sports jerseys for this month.
Okay.
I should say for this week. Can you think of any from, obviously, Guardians / Indians?
For number 7?
For number 7.
Kenny Lofton.
Well done. Well
done.
Al Rosen was another one.
Oh, okay.
And this one could be my all-time favorite Indian, Jake Taylor.
Oh, Jake Taylor.
In the movie. Yes.
Yes. Absolutely, Jake Taylor.
So for Cleveland Browns, Jacoby Brissett, that's basically all I got. I didn't really want to look at too much. And then for the Cavs, one of my favorite Cavs of all time, favorite names, that is, Bingo Smith.
Bingo, and Bingo was his name. Oh,
such a great player.
Now, we don't have a show on the 24th, so we're going to talk about Roger Dorn now.
I can if you want to.
I don't know. I just, I mean, one of the
bend over Dorn.
Jesus Christ, Dorn, get in front of the ball.
God, that flick is so that's one of those, and everyone has those movies. When you see it on TV and you've seen it like 85 million times, but you still stop and watch it.
Absolutely.
That is one of those for sure.
Absolutely. I don't know. I got a guy. Hey, how would you like to manage the Indians this year? I don't know. I got a guy on the other line that wants to talk about a set of white walls. I'll call you back, okay?
Such a great flick. The sequels are not the same. They did the first one, and then they had the second one, and they were back to the minors, and
it was all in the first one.
Oh, crap.
In the first one. Yep. Yeah. Well, speaking of sports, we had, I know this will come as a shock. We had a big hockey weekend.
Okay.
And I was pretty excited because, in my opinion, my oldest son, who was a goalie, took some steps forward this weekend and improved his play. So we've been working with him. I've been working with him.
That's awesome.
And, I was excited that I thought he played his one or two best periods of the season. He splits time with another goalie. He gave up one goal in his period on Sunday, and he was screened. Not that that's an excuse, but it's hard to stop the puck when you can't see it. And other than that, I mean, he was sticking his nose in there. He didn't seem to be afraid of the puck. All things we've been working on. So it was a very proud dad moment. Well, here, I'll tell you how good he played. So start of the second period, we had a penalty. And I think we got 6 penalties that period, and they each overlapped by about 20 seconds. So for half the period, we were either down 1 or 2 men.
Oh, geez.
He didn't give up a goal until well after that.
Good for him.
After the game, 2 different kids, while we were on the ice, I was running the penalty box, and so I was walking off the ice. 2 different players from our team with him behind them just smiling came up, and Mr. Klopp, you owe him ice cream. He earned ice cream today. He played so well, you got to get him ice cream. So that was pretty cool. I mean, I guess when your teammates say you've earned ice cream, you play pretty well.
I think so at that age, no doubt. That's like getting the gold medal. How often do you work the sin bin for the hockey games? All the time?
I would say 3/4 of the time.
That'd be a cool seat. You see a lot of stuff and hear a lot of stuff there.
I do.
That'd be a good time.
It's fascinating for me because I get to hear what the coaches are saying and kind of what's going on. What are the referees saying? What are they doing? And I was happy because last night, depending on the ring, sometimes it's on the opposite side, but last night it was right next to the bench. And so when my son went into the game in the second period, the coaches, what are the coaches going to say to the goalie? Stop the puck?
Correct.
So I called him over And I've said the same thing to him the last few times. I've said, think about what the goalie coach is talking to you about, and let's build on what you've done so far. Let's just try to be better than we were in the last game.
Great advice.
Basic, simple.
Yep.
And he just, he listened exactly to what I said, and he nodded, and I said, okay, go. And so far, seems to be working.
You're developing a young Ron Hextall.
That's God, wouldn't that be something? I don't know if that's what we're looking for, but yeah. And it's always interesting when the kids come to the box and give you their interpretation of whether they got a penalty or not, and things like that. Sometimes they're just like, hey, what do you call me for? Roughing. Yeah, I did that. And then you get the opposite. I didn't do anything. And the kid clearly leaned his shoulder. Oh, I didn't do anything. He tripped on the blue line. Okay. So, yeah, but that was pretty exciting.
I love the excitement.
Yeah.
Now this, by the way, and I should have asked this, you're talking about your son, Fritz. Is that correct?
That is correct. My eldest son.
You do have, just so our listeners at home know, you have 3 sons that all play goalie.
Well, 2 of them play it, and the youngest, well, I got a story about that. So the youngest is a mite. That's the youngest level of hockey.
I love the terminology, by the way.
Yeah. Mite, squirt, peewee, bantam.
Yep.
Bantam's the only one. It's like, what the heck is a bantam?
Yep.
The others are, but anyhow, so
they have that one in boxing too.
Yeah. So Hans plays goalie on the mite team, and when you're a mite goalie, you go down and you stand up, but you're kind of standing there. And the puck's coming towards me. I mean, the kids will stand with their arm on the goal, like they're at the bar, casually standing there. And I've asked Hans why he likes being the goalie, and he says, "They thank me." Okay, and I say, "Well, what don't you like about being the goalie?" "They score on me a lot." Okay, so next year he's going to be a squirt. He'll move up an age bracket. And so the coordinator had me bring him to practice with the squirts one time. So I called him afterwards. This was this past week, and I said, "How'd it go?" There's a long pause, and he says, "I said, you could tell me if it didn't go well." He said, "I would call it a failed experiment." I said, "Okay." He said, "Yeah, he was stopping everything with his skates." And I said, "Well, he may not know the butterfly, where you go down with your legs,
right,
butterflied out to the side, for lack of a better term." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll see what he thought." So I come home and talk to my wife, and he's telling her he had a great time. He wants to go back. He wants to do it again, practice with the older team. When can he go back? And he thought he only let about 10 shots in the entire practice. So I text this to the hockey coordinator, who, as we like to say, is fluent in sarcasm.
Yes.
I text him that he says he only let 10 shots in, and the hockey coordinator texts back, there were only 11 shots. So, that's...
Well, he only let in 10. He didn't let it in 11. He wasn't lying.
Got to start somewhere.
Got to be positive.
I heard that, the hockey coordinator will stand in the box sometimes, and if Hans is goalieing a mite game and he makes a save, I pull out. I can't think of the announcer, but I'll say, "Oh, saving a beauty."
Marv Albert, baby, that was Marv Albert.
Looks at me. The coordinator just looks at me. So,
saving a beauty. Oh,
that's what we got. Yep,
love it.
Well, coming up on this week's show, we're going to find out about a DNA test on Santa. A movie screen bigger than an airplane's wings, and a high school where the lights are on, always on. All that, plus we'll talk to our friend Colin Forgotch about Cleveland sports. Kevin Davis has his 4 pillars of health. He'll talk to us about that. We've got Cleveland sports memories, the Cleveland calendar, and Cleveland history. A lot of Cleveland coming up.
And now, a woman's perspective.
What does a man consider a 7-course meal? A pizza and a 6-pack.
This has been A Woman's Perspective.
Time for another Cleveland history lesson, and our Cleveland historian, John Grabowski, is back with us. And John, today we have an event that is probably infamous is maybe the better word than famous here in Cleveland. The Balloon Fest event back in 1986 that involved, I don't want to steal your thunder, but thousands of balloons in downtown Cleveland. Is that a good starting point?
No, you have to multiply that exponentially, Ted, in terms of the number of balloons.
Okay.
And this is one of the points in Cleveland. Cleveland had gone through a really rough spot in the 1970s with default and everything else, and it was coming back in the 1980s. And Balloon Fest was one of those things that they felt would really promote the city and help really raise the image of the city. So the plan was to get the world record, if you will, of the release of the largest number of balloons ever. And so a corps of volunteers with heaven knows how many helium tanks sat there in front of Public Square. And the estimate is basically they inflated about 1.5 million balloons.
Oh my gosh.
And that is, holding them up to the tank and then tying them. And then they let them go, and there was a huge net in front of the terminal tower that they caught the balloons. They had this whole mass of balloons in it. And this was done for a very good cause. It was done to promote United Way, the annual fund drive. And this was going to, give Cleveland bragging rights for the largest balloon fest ever, and was going to help United Way. And there's a great film of this, and they did the countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they opened the net, and the balloons started to rise. Except the weather had changed, and there was a strong wind blowing, and it began raining. And almost immediately, the balloons began to be driven to the ground, which sounds like, okay, that's not a problem. But they blew northwards over the lake, and several things happened. They started ending up on the shoreway, and drivers couldn't see where they were driving.
Oh my gosh.
There were several accidents on the shoreway. A huge number of them landed in the lake. And this was at the time when the Coast Guard was looking for 2 missing boaters.
Oh, no.
And they could not identify the boaters amidst the balloons in the lake. And it was an absolute catastrophe. And, some of the balloons stayed aloft. Some of them ended up in Canada. Some of them went south. One ended up in Medina. Some ended up in Medina County. And they spooked a horse, and the horse ran into a fence or something, and the owner of the horse sued Balloon Fest for the cost of the horse. So this became a major news. And to take it to the present, I've actually worked in the past with documentary makers from California who are doing documentaries on Balloon Fest. And this is before the ecology of releasing balloons came up. What happens with all that rubber when it comes down, that latex? And so that has affected these mass releases ever since. But this is one of these things that was set up to really put Cleveland on the map. And unfortunately, it did so, but in a negative way. And the repercussions, lasted for months, the legal repercussions and everything else on it. So yeah, that was Balloon Fest 1986.
Wow. So John, I've seen some documentaries. I've seen some information about that, and I was very familiar. I was a little bit younger when that whole thing happened. I guess at the end of the day, you mentioned this was because of a United Way thing. Who was the person behind this? Is there one person that said, hey, let's do this. I think this is a great idea, and let's find a way to do it. Who would be that person?
I don't know, Ken. I don't know if it was the head of United Way, and I don't know who the United Way head was at that point. my guess, and this is just a suspicion, so this is not factual, is that it was probably, United Way had this idea, and and a group of people maybe at United Way proposed it, and then they worked with the city and got all the permission. So, if it was one person's idea, it became, a collaborative effort to get this going, and certainly it took it. And the one thing too is that they had, I must have been thousands of volunteers coming to inflate these balloons.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see the pictures of the volunteers, it's the pastiche of Cleveland. It was everybody, every group of people you could imagine in Cleveland coming there to do this for the city, and it went awry. Heaven knows what would have happened if the weather were better. I mean, it would have all floated away. They would have landed independently, but it just was. It's kind of, I say this with a great deal of caution. It's like Cleveland's Hindenburg.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. That's
in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing we know from living here in Cleveland, you can blame the weather for an awful lot of problems, and there's one, right?
Yeah, well, you can sure do that. Yeah.
All right, John. Well, the 1986 Balloon Fest, a memorable event in Cleveland, and we thank you for the insight. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's almost as good as Mayor Perk's hair catching on fire, but that's another story.
Ted, we have some good news for a girl in Rhode Island. She came up with a pretty good way to determine if Santa is real. This is big news. She sent a partially eaten cookie and some carrot sticks to her local police department and asked if they could be DNA tested. The chief forwarded the evidence to the Rhode Island Department of Health Forensic Sciences for analysis, and the results are in. How about this? The department says it was not able to definitively confirm or refute the presence of Santa. But investigators say that we all agree that something magical may be at play.
Of course.
While no complete matches were found, there was a partial match to a 1947 case centered around 34th Street in New York City. The lab had the presence of the DNA closely matching reindeer when testing the carrots. There it is.
Something magical is at play.
I absolutely love this story. This is great. This is great.
That is a smart young lady right there.
Yes, it
Saves
is.
the cookie, sends it in for analysis. You can't get anything past her.
Why not try it through science? Very impressive. Time for another edition of Kids Talk, where we bring in one of our favorite guests, Colin Forgotch, the Cleveland kid. As today we're going to talk about two of his favorite teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers, as well as the Cleveland Browns. Colin, first off, thanks for taking the time. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
As the time of when we're recording this podcast, the Cavs are 31-21. Nice record, 5th in the East. They have a home record of 21-5. At home, they look unbeatable. But on the road, a bit of a struggle, 10-16. What's your thoughts on the team overall right now? What are you thinking?
When we have our home crowd, we can win. Anytime. We can win because we put our crowd into it and we win. But away, when we don't have that momentum from, people cheering from us, I don't know, we just can't get a groove in or going. And it's just, it's hard to watch sometimes when we're away.
I would agree with that. The part I don't understand is that at times they could look like a completely different team.
Really, to be honest, it's hard to answer that because it really is hard to comprehend because we're playing outstanding one way. The other way, we can't do a legit anything. And I think definitely with like the Bulls game yesterday, was absolutely insane. But yeah, they had 4 of their starters out. And the Warriors, when we played them, we still couldn't beat them. And they had 3 of their starters out. It was just I don't know what is up with. We need to be able to play good when we don't have our home crowd compared to when we have our when we're away. It's just for some reason we just can't get a groove going.
I will say the highlights so far this season, obviously Donovan Mitchell. My concern with him, and I imagine you probably agree, is just his injury situation. He's got a groin that's just going to be a hindrance, I think, the rest of the year. But I think the one guy that I'm super impressed with, and maybe I'll get your feedback on him here, is Evan Mobley. Boy, he's really he's really stepped up, and he's starting to score a little bit more. And and obviously his defense rebounds. But what's your thoughts on Evan? I mean, I think the sky's the limit for him.
Like last year, I thought he was like amazing. I was so angry when he didn't win Rookie of the Year. But like, I don't know, it was just I was shocked because this year I was like, it's kind of annoying. Like I wanted last year's Evan Mobley because I thought Evan Mobley last year was playing better. Then randomly he just comes out of nowhere and is just averaging like 20 points a game, and it just came out of absolute nowhere that he could finally be able to shoot. Like he never was able to like shoot that he can. Now he's doing all these like fadeaways from like the mid range. Like I'm impressed.
Yeah, his overall game is getting much better, and his assists are going up. I mean, I know the other night he had a double, but he's starting to distribute the ball, and obviously defensively, I think he's very strong. What other players, in your opinion, besides let's take Mitchell out of the mix? What other players have you been surprised with? Positively with the Cavs so far?
I would just say from yesterday, shouting out Chetty, he went off 29 points, career high, and 3-pointers, 7 for 7. I mean, he just, especially it was cool because it was on Turkish Heritage Night. I mean,
that's right.
I actually am very impressed with him this year. I thought he's been playing really good. Stepping up when we need him to make like threes or whatever, like whenever we need him. Who else? I to be honest, I don't know if there's anyone else. Like I feel like mostly I was expecting what was gonna happen. I knew we were gonna have a great season with Mitchell. I mean, I knew like our starters were gonna go great. I thought, Okoro, I thought last year I was like, this guy's not good. He can't play defense. And then he stepped it up fully, making shot after shot. I mean, he's looking great this year too.
No, I agree. He's been a nice surprise, and they've needed somebody at that small forward spot. It just seems like they just can't get someone consistently that could score and rebound. Your thoughts? I mean, just after the All-Star break is the trading deadline. Your thoughts? What pieces do you think would help the Cavs? You know, certainly in a stretch run as they move towards the playoffs.
See, here's the thing with Okoro is, I feel like he can shoot. I still feel like the rebounds lack. I don't feel like he's more of a perimeter. He's more of a perimeter guy that just stays at the 3-point line. He needs to get down. He can't get rebounds. That's in my opinion. The thing is, there's been talk with losing Chetty, and I don't want to lose Chetty because he's a beast. I think he's like one of the most underrated players, like underrated bench players in the NFL, NBA. But I don't know. But then we can't also give away like draft picks anymore because he lost so many giving it away to Utah for Mitchell.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I want to like advance anything unless we just pick up I feel like we should just pick up another guy or like some just like middle of the pack guy that we can have.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. There's been so many rumors out there, and just all you could do is go on Twitter or Instagram or whatever you want to do, and there's a rumor for this. You know, there's packages of the Cavs trading Caris LeVert and Chetty Osman and put them on over to Utah and trying to get Malik Beasley. Then they talked about Tim Hardaway Jr. So I think you're correct. I think the Cavs, I'm not going to say they're stuck, but they can't make the moves like they have in the past because they don't have the draft capital that they once did. So we'll see what happens. You know, maybe there's an expiring contract. They do have a couple. I mean, Caris LeVert and Kevin Love, that's another guy too. They're expiring contracts this year. So maybe they can make some moves with that, but I don't know. We'll see. I think what you see as a nucleus and what the team is right now, I have a feeling is going to be what we see the rest of the season.
I don't know if anyone would want Kevin Love. I mean, we've had him and he's starting to die down now that he's getting older. And I just feel like he's not like what teams would want. I don't feel like anyone would want to trade for him. But like, I don't know. I don't think we'll make any moves. I mean, it would be cool to see, but I really don't think we'll make a move.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that. Well, once again, Cavs 31-21. It is certainly exciting to watch compared to what we've seen in the past, right, Colin? I mean, I want to turn the games on if they're playing, you know, the Lakers or if they're playing Brooklyn. I mean, any of these teams before would just, you know, run us off the court, and now, you know, we have the ability to play with any of these teams. So it is exciting basketball.
I mean, like, I haven't felt this since 2018 when last year of LeBron. Like, I felt this excitement from the Cavs.
Well, super exciting. So we'll see what happens with them. We'll have you on again to talk about, you know, maybe some moves that they make or what happens after the All-Star break and all that. So now we're going to move on to another fan favorite team of yours, the Cleveland Brownies. So finished the season 7-10, surprisingly 3-3 in the division, which I thought was very good. End of the year, in my opinion, was kind of tough to watch. That last game against Pittsburgh was, I don't know, it was almost like a practice. Like they were just trying different things and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
overall 7-10. Deshaun Watson obviously playing the last parts of the season. What's your thoughts on what you saw from the Browns?
Mixed emotions. I feel like we definitely could have played better. I mean, I was thinking we would have played better. I mean, if you want to be 100% honest, this is definitely not everyone thinks the same way, but I really did not think Watson played bad. I thought he played great. I mean, when you haven't played football in 700 days, you're gonna be a bit rusty. I'm just waiting for next year. I think he's gonna be a bit back to where he was leading the. I don't think he's gonna be leading the NFL in passing yards. But he's gonna be about to where he was, like playing, leading the NFL in passing yards. Like he's gonna be back when he's actually throwing to receivers. He's able to.
I think you're right because and once again, the quarterback game is so different. I think we talked about this the last time you and I had the time to discuss some things. If you're thrown into the mix with a bunch of guys that you haven't done anything with, you're not going to gel. It's going to take you a while. And there were some signs of different things, but if you've not played for over 2 years of football, the only way you get better at football is playing football. And that's in games and practices are completely two different things, you know, and I do think a whole off season will make him much better. He still certainly has the skills. He can run. I think they can do different offensive packages.
Yeah.
And I think the Browns, and I want to get your opinion on this, I think there's a good nucleus of offensive players that they have that I think can make him excel. Obviously, outside the offensive line, I'm talking about the skill guys.
I mean, like if we don't lose Kareem Hunt, I'm saying he's a great receiving back. Mm-hmm. And then we also have, I mean, Amari, if he can step up, like what he did those last few games of the season, that's going to be amazing. Then plus, I mean, DPJ, I thought had a bit of a shaky year this year, but if he could do what he was doing like earlier in his career, like just played outstanding, then I really think we're going to be amazing. If Anthony Schwartz can actually catch a football, I'm not trying to be down on him. I just feel like he just has like rough, like he could run out. I mean, he's one of the fastest players in the game, but it's just he struggles if he's getting locked up. He's not going to be able to catch the football.
He's a track star, but unfortunately he can't get the ball in his hands. When you talk about the receivers, Donovan Peoples-Jones, yes. Amari Cooper, yes. And obviously you have to throw the tight ends there. I was a little disappointed with the usage of David Bell. I think David Bell can actually be a very good slot receiver. He's a possession receiver. You don't have anybody that could go long. You just don't. You have no deep threat. And so I think if they can find that, that'll certainly help.
Yeah, David Bell, I forgot about him, but I really think he is a beast. If you can get him to actually play, he is outstanding.
Well, let's look at the other side of the ball, the defensive side, which was a bit of a mess, as many people know as they listen to this podcast. Joe Woods was let go. They brought in Jim Schwartz. I think he's certainly a nice injection of positivity and accountability for the defensive side of the ball. What's your thoughts?
I want to get hate for this.
Okay. This is why you're on. We want your opinion.
I hate Joe Woods. I'm so happy we got him out of there. I hated him this whole year. My funny part is my mom would know. She's gonna listen to this. I hated him all year. To be honest, we would have a top 10 defense if it wasn't for him. Our defense, I mean, we struggled with injuries, but I mean, look at our defense. Like Grant Delpit's great if he's playing. Denzel Ward by the end of the year, when he was healthy, was playing absolutely outstanding with all those interceptions. Myles Garrett. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah can step up if he needs to when he's not injured also. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney got to kind of stay out of our mouth. But, I mean, he played decent this year. Who else did I not name?
They named Delpit, obviously. I think the inside linebackers, I think, and overall the linebackers, I thought, were okay. You have a couple guys. I think what's going to happen, and you tell me what you think about this, they're going to change a couple personnel guys, especially up front. They need some defensive tackles for sure. I think in a lot of games, and you saw it too, teams were basically just taking the ball, running it up the middle, running off tackle, and just wearing us down towards the end of the game. We need some bigger linebackers to handle that and some defensive tackles that could stop the run. And if you do that, then it's going to make Myles Garrett and whoever the heck you have on the other side of the ball, as the other end, they'll be successful with pass rushing. And that's the key to the defense's pass rush.
I think for sure. I mean, I also forgot to say his name. I thought Deion Jones, when we picked him up, he was stepping up decently. I mean, for his age, I thought he was playing great. I think the problem is we need to draft someone. We definitely need to draft someone, but the problem is we don't have draft. Just like the Cavs, we can't draft anyone because of going out for Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. You don't have any draft capital. Yeah, I think your first pick is later on in the second round. So you can get some quality players, but you're not going to get a total impact game-changing guy so far. So 7 and 10, I mean, obviously we've seen schedules and things like that. Many different things have to go into effect. I would be upset if this team didn't make the playoffs next year. That's kind of where I'm at. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, I think I really would be. I mean, just how much we've just went through. I mean, all the changes we made, everything, and we wouldn't make that, especially going out that far to Sean Watson and him not leading us to the playoffs. Yeah, that I would be pretty mad.
What is your thoughts on Baker Mayfield? He starts with the Browns, gets traded, goes to Carolina, gets cut. Then he goes to the Rams, has a couple successful games. Overall, he played decent. What's his next step? What does he do?
It really is a good question. I mean, he's all over the board at this point. I mean, he's just, the thing is really that any team can agree with him, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we got rid of him in Cleveland. It's his attitude. His attitude is not the best, especially in the locker room, the players or whatever. And that's why teams don't want him. I really don't think he's what people can say he is, and I really think he has that talent in him. It's just he's up and down. He just one game against the Rams, like his first game on the Rams, or like again when they played the Broncos, he played absolutely outstanding. In other games, he just did not play good.
I'm interested. I mean, from what you saw with the Rams and some of the things you talked about, I think are 100% correct. And I think people had a different thought process and persona about him after what he did with the Rams. I mean, he walked in there, he didn't know any plays. They were telling him the plays and where guys are supposed to line up during the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, once again, many people hate him. I don't hate him. I mean, I respect him. He is a little bit of a smaller guy. I think he does have a big heart and he wants to play. I don't know about his whole marketing thing. Do you think someone tries to make him a franchise quarterback, or do you feel as though he's going to kind of bounce around like we're seeing right now?
No, I think it's going to be something like Jacoby Brissett, like what he's doing or like Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to be that guy that's going to be that second string, but you're going to see him on a bunch of teams until he gets old. And I don't think he's going to be a franchise guy for anyone anymore.
I would love to see it. I would,
definitely.
If it's, I can't even name the different teams. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to be with the Rams. I mean, obviously, he could stay there as a backup, but I mean, certainly they have their quarterback until he decides that he's going to retire. So, we'll see. All right. Good discussion on the Browns. Good discussion on the Cavs. We'll wrap up with this. Tell me about Colin Forgosh's basketball extravaganzas. Tell me about your team, and let's hear some stats. The fans at home want to know what your stats are and what you've been up to when it comes to your sports.
All right, so team-wise, we're 2-5. We're having a bit of a rocky year.
Okay.
We got 2 games left until our tournament. I feel like there's just been a lot of things, like, funniest part is we always like to say it, but it's like shots just are not knocking down for us, but it's every game. The shots I just feel like are not going. I don't know, I just feel like we're just having a rough year. I mean,
sure.
I mean, I'm not trying to boast or anything. I don't think I'm playing that bad. I'm probably having averaging 7 points a game, 10 rebounds.
That's good.
My sister, okay. You
mentioned before we started here, you had one really good game. You also had a triple double. Is that correct? What'd you have?
Yeah, I almost had a triple double the game that we had. I had 9 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Really mad because I could have had that double when I was 1 for 4 on free throws.
Oh man, that charity stripe will get you. Well, at least you know what you have to work on. So that's good. Well, Colin, thanks for the time. Great sports update. Once again, we have a lot of people that like to get your opinion. Want to have you back on. I think we'll probably talk sometime in towards the middle to end of February. It'll be after the All-Star break. It'll be after the trade deadline. We'll talk some more Cavs. And then obviously, I don't think free agency will start right away for the NFL, but I think there'll be some things in the mix. But I won't talk to you before then. I need a Super Bowl prediction. Who's winning between the Chiefs and the wonderful Eagles? And by the way, do you know the defensive coordinator for the Eagles is a St. Ignatius graduate, John Gannon? How about that?
I did not know that.
And then the head coach went to Mount Union. So there we go.
Well, did you know the Kelseys went to Cleveland Heights?
I do. It's the Kelsey Bowl. First time two
Yes.
brothers ever playing each other in a Super Bowl. It's pretty exciting.
I love them.
They're pretty
well,
cool.
that's like besides obviously two middle-aged men in Cleveland, that's my
Oh,
favorite
sure.
podcast to listen
Yeah, they
to
have
right
a great
now.
podcast. I will say that.
Yes.
I've listened to a couple episodes.
Eagles winning. I really don't think that's a question. I think it's gonna be a good game, but I don't think there's anyone able to change me that the Chiefs will win. I mean, Eagles, Hassan Reddick on defense looking just absolutely insane.
Yeah,
They carried that game against who do they play? The 49ers.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is looking. I mean, I've said it since like the middle of the season. He is a top 5 quarterback. He's looking amazing. Miles Sanders looking great. I mean, he's got hate his entire career, and he's finally looking good. Receiving core with AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, they're looking good. I mean, I just feel that it's just an all put together team.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because they had the best record, they tied the Chiefs the best record in the NFL. Both those teams are just they're put together teams. I mean, the Chiefs always will when Andy Reid's your coach.
Yeah.
But they're just a put together team in general, both of them.
Yeah. I agree.
I think Eagles will pull out.
I think so too. I think you're correct. We're on the same page with that. That is also my prediction. Well, Mr. Colin Forgach, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the updates. And keep hitting the books. Keep doing well. Keep getting some rebounds. Get to the charity stripe as well. Can you?
Yes.
Let's make some free throws.
I do have 2 shout outs.
Oh, please
First,
go ahead.
I got a shout out for Donovan Mitchell for being a starter in the All-Star game.
Okay.
I forgot to say that during the podcast. And also, the first time I came on here, my friend was pretty upset. His name's Max Brennan. He was upset that he didn't get a shout out the first time. He is a large Cleveland sports fan, an Ohio State fan. Just want to shout him out.
All right, Max, you get the shout out. The Kids Talk version with Colin Forgach. Colin, thank you. Be good. We'll talk soon.
Yes. All right, perfect.
Overachiever time, Ken. A German theater has the biggest movie screen in the world. The screen at the Tromplust Lennenberg measures 127.2 feet by 68.8 feet.
Oh my gosh.
That is 8,770.43 square feet. And that is wider than a Boeing 737 airliner's wings. It was measured by a specialist company using laser sensor technology that allowed them to confirm the screen's size with millimeter precision.
Sounds like that story was laser focused, is what that was. That's amazing. I would love to watch some sort of movie or a game on that type of screen. Wouldn't that be cool? That'd be pretty neat.
I hope you don't sit too close.
You'll go blind.
Have a neck problem then. Well, it's February, and it's the shortest month of the year, but that doesn't mean that there's a shortage of things to do in the city of Cleveland. So we've got Jen Brasnovich from Destination Cleveland back with us. Jen, what's going on here in February?
I don't think I can top that intro, Ted. That was a pretty impressive line there.
Yeah.
No, you are correct. There is no shortage of things to do in Cleveland this February. It is winter. We're a little chilly. We've seen, just a little bit of snow this year. But luckily, Cleveland is no stranger to snow or cold. So we embrace it. And we've come up with a bunch of ways to keep you busy in the snow and the cold. So let's start with Ice Festival. This is on February 11th down at North Coast Harbor. Who needs a day of fun in the sun when you can have a day of fun in the ice? It's what we're all about here in Cleveland. It is completely free. It is going to feature a bunch of immersive ice sculptures, some live ice carving demonstrations. This year, they're doing their inaugural Cleveland Cocoa Run, which is a 5K run or a 1K walk. You get a free shirt, a finisher medal, and a cup of hot cocoa at the end. So that'll keep you nice and warm here in the winter here in Cleveland. The hot cocoa run, ice bars, food, drink, all of the fun you could possibly think of. They're also doing something called Snowga this year, which is outdoor yoga. So I don't know, maybe put on like your fleece lined yoga pants for that one because it sounds a little chilly. So that should be a really fun one too, though, to start off the day. Fire pits, s'mores, fire shows to end the day. Plenty of fun down there at North Coast Harbor for the whole family. If you have not had enough of outdoor fun yet, Bright Winter returns to the West Bank of the Flats on February 25th this year. This is that outdoor music festival that happens every year down there at the Flats, right underneath the bridge. All about embracing winter in Cleveland. 3 stages of live music. There's going to be immersive art installations throughout the festival. Local food trucks. Of course, it's not a Cleveland event without some beer tents set up. So that'll keep you warm on the inside and out. Even though it is an outdoor event, there are still some chances to warm up. We're not here to torture you here in Cleveland. There's hot chocolate, fire pits, heated tents where there's going to be some artwork on display. So ways to keep you warm even in the middle of winter. Tickets for that start at $10. Anything above $10 that you give and you get some cool bright winter swag. It is really one of the coolest events that happens here in Cleveland in the winter, and one of the coolest ways that we really embrace winter here in Cleveland. And then, of course, one of my favorite events in Cleveland, Karanta Vanje is back this year in February. I think we talked about this last year, guys. It is the Slovenian festival that chases away winter. So they literally have like these weird, they're called currents. They just look like monsters who get all dressed up, and they have like these bells and chimes and stuff that they use to chase away winter. So it is known as Slovenian Mardi Gras. It takes place in St. Clair Superior. Cleveland is actually home to the highest concentration of Slovenians outside of Slovenia, so it's going to be a huge celebration. This year's event kicks off on February 5th with some virtual programming. They have cooking demonstrations, Slovenian language classes, some history courses. They have in-person events like learning the Slovenian polka and waltz, which I'm trying to convince some of my coworkers to sign up for me with. So that should be fun. And then it all culminates with the current Dash 5K and the Karanta Vanje Parade and Festival on February 18th. That has live music, a ton of great ethnic food down there. Of course, a polka band, Chardon Polka Band will be on hand to keep everybody dancing the day away. Obviously, some beer down there as well, kids' activities. And my favorite part, there is a bocce tournament that takes place in the basement of the Slovenian National Home every year. Thanks to the Cleveland Bocce Club. Shameless plug because I am a member of the Cleveland Bocce Club, and Destination Cleveland's team plays on Tuesday nights if you're looking for a good time. Ken and Ted,
Jen, that's a lot of stuff.
Do you guys have Valentine's this year?
We have Valentine's every year.
Are you talking about the two of us or with our wives?
Like are you two? No. Do you have Valentine's? Have you bought Valentine's gifts for your wives yet? Are you looking for ideas? I've got one for you.
What's a Valentine's gift?
What's a Valentine, honestly? But what better gift to give your loved ones this Valentine's Day than the gift of beer? You guys know this is my Valentine year round. It's perfect. Cleveland Brewery Passport just launched for the 4th year. It is Destination Cleveland's program to celebrate the craft beer scene here in Cleveland. So that just launched last month, and it is going through the end of the year. So if you are looking for Valentine's Day plans, maybe hit up a few of those breweries, take the Valentine out for dinner, grab a drink, wander around Cleveland and explore some more of Cleveland thanks to the Cleveland Brewery Passport. And if you haven't bought a gift yet, when you complete your first check-in on the Cleveland Brewery Passport, you get a free sticker. There you go. There's your Valentine's Day gift. Put it in a card. You're all set.
Yeah, sticker.
A sticker.
Jen, you're just helping us out in every way possible. We appreciate that. By the way, I did download the app for the Brewery Passport. I cannot believe how many breweries are on there. That is crazy. That's just unbelievable.
Breweries this year. Yeah, it's our biggest number yet. So 44 breweries, all within 30 miles of downtown Cleveland. So a lot, down in the Cleveland neighborhoods. Ohio City obviously has a huge concentration of breweries, but a lot of good excuses for people to get out into the suburbs, get out into some of those neighborhoods to experience the breweries out there too. And you'll collect points along the way that you can trade in for prizes. So again, if you're still looking for that Valentine's Day gift, if you visit 6 breweries before February 14th, you can cash in your points for some koozies or coasters. And there you go. Now I've got you all set for Valentine's Day.
Now, will you be giving any of these items that you've highlighted for Valentine's Day?
No, I'm just hoping to receive them. I'm giving
I
myself
see.
the gift of
Okay.
beer for
Just
Valentine's Day.
receive them. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be completing my check-ins to give myself the gift of beer for
Give
Valentine's.
yourself the gift of beer. Sure. Okay.
Well,
All right.
Jen,
Well,
I actually have another question, Ted, if I could.
oh, yes, please.
So Ted and I need help, as you know, in many different ways. So if with Valentine's Day coming around, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I thought maybe you could direct us. Is there any newer restaurants in the area that you would maybe recommend that Ted and I get a reservation for or check out, maybe to take our Valentine or something like that?
Yeah, I cannot guarantee that you will still be able to get a reservation because the two that I'm going to recommend are two of the hottest restaurants in Cleveland right now. So Cordelia down on East 4th Street opened mid last year. I was actually just in there about a week ago for a cocktail, and it is absolutely beautiful in there. It is such a cool menu, just a completely new concept. They're calling it Midwest Grandma. So it's a lot of comfort food with like a modern, cool twist on it. But I will give a shout out to the bartenders there. They're absolute magicians. You tell them what you like, they'll make you a drink that goes along with that theme. So that is an awesome stop for you in downtown Cleveland. And then over in Ohio City, right next to the West Side Market, Jaja is a new steakhouse that just opened. So that's a little higher end if you're looking for a fancy night out. I have not been there yet, but everyone who has been there, I have heard absolutely incredible things about. It is very beautiful inside. It feels like you're just being transported to a different place. It doesn't feel like you're in Cleveland, especially in the winter. It's got kind of a cool tropical vibe in there. So that's a good stop too. And then I actually really like right next to Jaja, Pioneer, which is a camping themed bar. And I like that because I'm kind of outdoorsy. So they have like a cool Airstream camper out back that serves drinks, and they've got fire pits, and everything is very like wood fired and cool down there. So no guarantees, but if you try now, you might still be able to get a reservation for Valentine's Day.
Now, Jen, Jaja's, do you have to be divorced multiple times in order to eat there?
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I think they're accepting of all lifestyles there.
Okay. All right, I
Divorced,
wasn't
married,
sure.
single, estranged, whatever.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to check on that. All right. Well, plenty of options there, Ken. I think we're all set.
We're in good shape. Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Once again to the rescue. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, guys.
Ted, we were out and about in Northeast Ohio. And no, we did not venture out of anywhere but Northeast Ohio. Had the opportunity to go some great places. Certainly want to give some kudos to these folks. First place was Blue Monkey. Have you ever been to the Blue Monkey in North Royalton?
No.
Not sure why you're laughing. Blue Monkey. It's a brewery. It's actually pretty good. It's kind of hard to find. It's in a plaza, but the beers were good. The place inside was very nice. We had a very nice time. Then we went right across the street to the Sippin' Post. Did I ever take you to the Sippin' Post from your days of working some PA at Padua Franciscan? Did you ever do that?
I feel like we've been there.
It's a great place. I mean, it's cheap beers, good food, all that. So highly recommend that. Then we had a gift card. I repeat, we had a gift card to go to Alessia's Tavern of Richfield in Richfield, Ohio. Have you been there?
Tavern of Richfield. Is that the original Tavern of Richfield?
Yes.
Hey,
a different group took
I
it
don't know
over.
that I don't know that I ever was there, but boy, how many times did you hear Howie Chiswick and Joe Tate talk about the Tavern of Richfield?
Oh my gosh. It was great. It's very nice. We had a very nice time, good food, great drinks. It was wonderful. I highly recommend it. And it's fancy when they have valet. I mean, that's big time.
Okay.
That's big time. Before that, we went to Michelangelo's Winery, which is also in Richfield. That is the first time I've ever been there. I've had some other wines before. I highly recommend it. The part that was really cool, we actually went for a tasting. I'm not saying I'm cheap, but always looking to save money where we can. The tasting's $10 a person.
Okay.
Where you have you're supposed to have 6. I'm probably not supposed to say this, but I had 9 different small little bits of wine. So I almost tasted every type of wine that they had. It was awesome. The place is beautiful. There's 5 or 6 different buildings. And they're also connected with the group that's the Michelangelo's Bakery. So they have their own bakery there. I mean, they're doing pretty well. So I would highly recommend that. Some of the regular places that we've gone to in the past, Panini's in Westlake, Danny's Deli. You and I had some time there. Went for the first time with Eowyn, and as many people know, she's kind of a food connoisseur. And if she says a place is good, then they must be really good.
Yeah.
We went to the original Pancake House. Have you been there before, Ted?
The Pancake House in
the
Rocky.
Original Pancake House.
Yes.
Rocky River, Fairview, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I've been there. They have about 72 different flavors of pancakes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So we did that. It was awesome. Normal routine, went to the Buckeye Beer Engine as well. And then another place, I don't know if I talked about it before. It's called Sangria in Westlake. Very good food, very good cocktails. It's right on Detroit Avenue. And so, yeah, it was a big out and about. We did a lot in the last couple of weeks. Besides some hockey, did you have an opportunity to be out and about anywhere?
We went to the, what's it called? All Things Mechanical on West 25th. It's a really cool place. I know this will shock you. This was a team building thing for a hockey team, but they have all these 80s video games.
Oh,
and
that's
they're
cool.
all free. They make their money on the alcohol and the drinks. They have duck pin bowling, which they charge for. And there are some pinball machines and things like that. But all the video, so I played Asteroids, Space Invaders, Missile Command, you name it. It was what we grew up on.
That's cool. Do they have the wrestling game?
I didn't see the wrestling game.
Like the originals with like
Ultimate Warrior. No, I didn't see the wrestling. That was always a fun one.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll have to check that place out.
I saw a football game that had Drew Bledsoe quarterbacking the Patriots.
Oh my God!
And my oldest son knew who he was. I said, you don't know who Drew Bledsoe is? He said, yeah, he was the quarterback before Tom Brady.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was really cool. A lot of fun. Highly recommend it. They do not serve food, but they allow you to bring in food. So you can order a pizza or whatever. And yeah.
That's really cool.
Get it delivered. So that's my out and about. I know that's a surprise, comes relating to hockey.
Well, that's great, though. Checking out new places. We recommend everyone else to do that as well. Ted, we're out and about and we were loving it.
Blah, blah, blah.
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 Our guest today is a health expert with information about anti-aging, lifestyle interventions, and a plan involving what he refers to as the 4 pillars of men's health. So let's talk with Kevin Davis. Kevin.
Hey, Ted. Thanks for having me on there.
Thank you for joining us. So I guess the place to start, what do you do and what are the 4 pillars of health?
I'm a physician assistant. I've been practicing for over 25 years. I do family practice in Kentucky, and I treat patients from birth till 90 years old. So I see the whole spectrum of patients. And over the period of time, especially as I get older, I've really found out that aging does happen, and some things are going to occur, but not necessarily everything has to occur. And as I practice and as I get older, the patients that were coming in 10 or 15 years ahead of me, they kept telling me they didn't feel well, they didn't have energy, they didn't have all this kind of stuff. And I just thought, it's just their labs are normal. You do blood work on them, you do workup, and everything's fine. But they keep having these problems. And then, as I get into my 40s and 50s, I start experiencing some of the same things. So there has to be something to it. And that led me into the longevity and to developing my 4 pillars of health. The 4 pillars of health are really easy. It's diet, exercise, sleep, and prayer. And I think you have to have all 4 of these to have truly a good basis for your health. And this is what I always refer back to, talking with, no matter who it is or what kind of problem it is, we have to have these 4 things in place before we progress to better health.
Kevin, this is really great stuff. This kind of hits home for me. So obviously I'm in the process of trying to lose some weight. I'm, past mid 40, and obviously understand the exercise and certainly understand the diet. But the part that I think a lot of people really don't think about, and obviously if you can talk about this a little bit more, is the sleep part. That your body needs more sleep. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea not that long ago, and so I use a sleep apnea machine, and it's kind of changed my life. Can you talk about the importance of sleep when you mentioned as that is one of the 4 pillars?
Sure. I actually have a client right now that is experiencing the same thing. I've been working with him for probably about 4 months now, and at the beginning, I take an extensive intake as far as a history on somebody. And I kind of told him that sleep is probably your issue. And, he didn't believe me. So these other 3 pillars were really getting on track. He's exercising, he's doing the programs, he's following what I'm telling him to eat, taking time for prayer, meditation. But there's just that one thing that's not getting him to the results, and it's his sleep. And it all has to do with your physiology. It all has to do what's happening with your body. And that's the thing with most people, even whether you're trying to lose weight or gain energy, you got to look at the physiology behind of why someone's having these symptoms. So let's just take sleep, like the things that you're talking about. Well, what happens when you don't sleep? And this is one of the drivers of chronic disease. Is your body gets inflamed. And what I mean by that is there's this hormones called cortisol, and cortisol is your stress hormone. So your cortisol is supposed to go down at nighttime. And what happens is when you're not sleeping, especially if you've had sleep apnea like yourself, Ken, your body gets stressed out. And when your body gets stressed out, it releases this cortisol. Well, what happens when you release this cortisol? Well, your blood sugar goes up. So when you're stressed, your blood sugar goes up. So what happens after that is your insulin level goes up, because when your blood sugar goes up, insulin has to take care of the excess blood sugar and put it into your muscle cells, fat cells, liver, wherever it may be. So when you have increased cortisol, it causes more sugar in or glucose in your blood, which causes more insulin to be released. And the term that I want you to associate high insulin with insulin is fat storage. So if you have high insulin levels, you're going to store more fat. If you have low insulin levels, you're not going to store as much fat. So going back to your sleep, if you have sleep apnea and you're constantly waking your body up and you're constantly getting these surges of cortisol, you're getting these surges of glucose, which is causing surges of insulin, and having hyperinsulinemia, which just means chronic elevated levels of insulin. That's one of the things that we look at for chronic disease. So people who have sleep apnea, one of the reasons that they have a shorter life period is because they got this hyperinsulinemia, which kind of cascades to other effects like diabetes, and possibly to early dementia like Alzheimer's, or leads to high blood pressure. So if you're doing everything right, if you're eating what you're supposed to be eating, you're exercising, you're praying, but you're not getting your sleep, then you're going to have this driver of chronic disease occurring throughout the night. The other thing that happens is if you're not sleeping, there's so many things that happen with your body during the nighttime. And one of those things is like increasing the release of testosterone and growth hormone. So if you're not sleeping, you're not getting these surges that your body is supposed to be producing. And that can have effects down the road as well, too. If you just have one night of sleep, it actually can, or 1 week of abnormal sleep. They've done a study. I don't have it here in front of me. In college-age kids, they had a blood profile that was consistent with a pre-diabetic. And these kids were normal. And that's just 1 week of not sleeping well. So you can see how important that is. If you're going to build your health, you got to build it on the right pillars and make sure everything's working the way it should.
That's really good information, Kevin. To go along with that, and Ted, I'll ask another quick question, then you can ask one. So what goes along that, I guess I'll just put it specifically to myself. So part of what I have to do, you talk about exercise. Well, certainly for exercise, in order for me to properly sleep, I need to have exercise throughout the day and obviously watch my diet with not too much caffeine and things like that. Kevin, in your thought process, when everyone's diet could be different because everyone's body's different. Shortly, I mean, what do you think diet wise people should be looking at, and what should they be doing as one of your 4 pillars?
Well, and I'm glad you pointed that out because everybody's different. People know me a lot for a ketogenic diet because I actually wrote a book on it about 5 years ago on the ketogenic diet. And I still think it's a great diet, but not necessary for everyone. I'm more of a functional medicine approach now to where I kind of like trying to individualize someone's diet. And that can be based on blood work and genetics and things like that. So the diet is going to be different for everybody. But the things that you can take away from this, it don't matter what diet you want to be talking about, whether it be paleo, keto, carnivore, no matter what it is, you can't have processed foods and you can't have excess sugar. No matter what diet you're on, if you have those type of things, you're not going to have the health. So, if you just take it from that, and a lot of people, if I can, no matter if they're going to be high carb, low carb, no matter what that is, if I can just get them off processed foods and sugar, they're going to get 70% better on their own. And then we kind of dial it in from there. So when I look at the diet, that's where we start is, getting rid of the low hanging fruit as far as the things that we need to get rid of, and going more towards a whole food approach. Now, and that can include different macros that you're talking about. But a whole food approach is something that I think of as, if God made it, you can eat it. If God didn't make it, then it's probably not the best thing to eat. For instance, you can go get eggs from nature. You can go pick an apple. You can go, kill a chicken and, have chicken wings or whatever it may be. But you can't really go out in nature and get spaghetti. Spaghetti is a processed food. You can't get spaghetti sauce. It's processed food and it's full of sugar. So if you can just take that, and if you can incorporate like 90% of your meals with those type of parameters, you're going to be way ahead of the ballgame. So that's an easy way to get started with this.
So, Kevin, when we talk about diet and sleep and all these different, prayer, meditation, all these different things, one of the things that frequently guys run into, I work, I'm a parent. If there were 30 hours in the day, I would be able to do every one of these things. So how do you how can someone fit some of these things in what might be an otherwise, for lack of a better term, hectic or busy lifestyle?
Yeah, I get that a lot, especially the people that I coach online usually are people who are high executives or entrepreneurs or professionals. So, and I'm in that category as well too. So, I'm busy. I've got a lot of things going on, but it's just like with math. If you're trying to do a budget, you don't get a pass on your math. And in the end, you don't get a pass on your health. So what I try to do, and actually had another conversation with another client this week, and he told me, we don't really talk a whole lot anymore about health. It's more about my lifestyle, my decisions, and my whys. And I find, after we start down a road with somebody, then we start figuring out what their why is. And, one of the things I had actually this morning in the clinic, had a gentleman, and, he was in his 50s. He has high blood pressure, had high cholesterol. He smokes. His dad, I think it was in 5 years of his age, had a heart attack and passed away. So the question I asked him is, do you have grandkids? And he did. He had a 4-year-old granddaughter. So I said, do you want to see her grow up and go through high school and graduate? And he said, yeah. I said, well, if you're at your rate you're going right now, your chances are declining every year that you continue doing the things that you're doing. So, the information is out there. I don't have a corner on sleep. I don't have a corner on diet. I don't have any of that. But I think where the problem is it's not just necessarily a lack of information, even though I do find that because people get confused with so many recommendations, but it's being able to be accountable and to figure out what your why is. And then you're going to be able to make those tough decisions. We all have 24 hours in the day. How do you spend them? Are you watching TV sometimes? Are you on your phone, browsing? There's some probably within a day's time, there's probably an hour that we could probably carve out and do some things. But you have to kind of want to do that. And that's what's the difference between a lot with what I coach online and with my patients at my clinic. They both get the same information. But the thing that I find with the coaching online is people are paying for the service, and they tend to listen a little bit better because they have that desire. I have a lot of people in the clinic that I've been talking to for 10 years, but I can't go home with them every day and cook their food and, make them get out of bed and do some exercising or whatever it may be. But when they find that their why is there, then, it really does make a difference. And one of the approaches that I think, we're talking about it's a new year, January 2023. And so many people have made resolutions, to make all these big changes. They want to change their whole life, overnight. So I approach it a little bit differently. What I want to know is when I sit down with somebody is what's the minimum you can do? If you were so busy and you had work, you had family obligations, you had some meetings, whatever it may be, what's the minimum? We'll take exercise, for example. What's the minimum exercise you can do? And what I mean by that is if you can just do one push-up, do one push-up. And what happens is over time, when people are becoming somebody different, and if you start committing to yourself, you're going to exercise every day, and it may just be one push-up, but on those days that you have more time, you can do more than that. You can have a whole workout. But if you start making those little changes and you become 1% better each and every day, and you do one more each and every day, then over a period of time, it's going to change. It changes who you are on the inside.
Very good. Very good. Well, excellent information, Kevin. We appreciate your time. If folks want to learn more about you, get more information about you, your services, etc., where can they find you?
Just go to kevindavishealth.com. I have YouTube, I have a podcast, I wrote some books, got some planners and different things, but they can all find that. It's an easy place to go to. And, if they want to reach out to have a discussion, I'd love to have a discussion with them.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time and giving us kind of an overview of some of these things that obviously need to be, I'm sure, more top of mind for most of us guys than they probably are. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
The most trusted name in journalism, Klopp's Clips.
Here we go, Ken. A British woman just celebrated her 100th birthday. Olive Westerman used to work as a writer and travel clerk. She said she was lucky to have enjoyed a happy marriage. This was the interesting thing. When asked what her most memorable tip for longevity was, she said, avoid talking to strange men.
Okay.
That's it. So, happy 100th, Olive. Don't talk to strange men. Ken, I think your wife and my wife have already failed on that particular.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
A high school in Massachusetts is hoping that they'll be able to turn off their lights by the end of next month. A computer glitch has kept the lights on there for 24 hours a day for a year and a half. School leaders at Minnetonka Regional High School say there has been no way to turn off the lights aside from unscrewing each and every bulb or flipping circuit breakers, leaving entire building sections dark. The assistant superintendent of finance acknowledged the cost to taxpayers but said the 7,000 lights run into the thousands per month, not the 10,000.
No, it's only thousands. That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, no big deal.
Couldn't have gotten that fixed sooner? I don't know.
Let it run 24 hours a day.
I think that school board might be see some change here soon.
There could be a little bit of change there. That's a possibility.
Cops in Rockford, Illinois, looking for 23-year-old Dion Howard. He is accused of stealing a funeral home van with a body inside.
Oh, boy.
A day after the van was stolen from the Collins and Stone Funeral Home, police found the van in the 1400 block of East 87th Street in Chicago. The body of 47-year-old Curtis Brown was not in the van. Later found a couple miles away in the 8200 block of South Manistee Avenue. Body here, the van here.
Oh, my.
When caught, Howard will face charges of unlawful possession of a stolen vehicle and abuse of a corpse. How about that?
It's ridiculousness. Mr. Howard, you're struggling.
That's why it's here.
Ridiculous.
That's why it's in this segment. I mean, first of all, you shouldn't be stealing vehicles, but then if you discover that there's a dead body in there, maybe find another van to steal. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. Obviously, and if you're in that mentality, you're not thinking straight as it is. So
no, yeah, very true. Sports, college hoops, Duquesne, Loyola going at it in Pittsburgh, and in the second half, somebody ordered a McDonald's through Uber Eats apparently because we can tell this because the delivery driver just walked into the arena and right out of the court during play. A referee shooed the guy off the court. The guy eventually did find the hungry customer. By the way, Duquesne won that game 72-58.
Good for Keith Dambrot. Maybe that's something that he decided to do as like a distraction.
A little distraction.
Have somebody
there.
order some food from Uber Eats and find a way to win. Congrats, Coach Dambrot.
Next time I go to an AU Eagle game, I'll order Uber Eats and tell them I'm sitting next to Al King at half court.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sitting between Dusty Sloan and Al King. Come in front of the benches and deliver it near the substitution desk.
I can just dress up and pretend I'm like an Uber guy. Is what
there you go. We should do that.
We don't even have to spend money. I'll just dress up.
I like that. All right, there you go. I'm Ted Klopp. That's news to me.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Time for our Cleveland sports history segment. That means we're going to bring in Dusty Sloan, our sports historian. And Dusty, today, want to talk to you about a very interesting time for the Cleveland Cavaliers during their Miracle of Richfield time. They had a victory. It was January 24th, 1976. The Cavs had a huge margin of victory against the Milwaukee Bucks, 132-89. What can you tell us about that game? What can you tell us about that team?
Well, as all Cavs fans remember, even the younger ones, I'm sure they brushed up on the history. One of the greatest Cavs teams of all time, certainly the one in the early part of the Cavs tenure, obviously expansion team in 70, by 75, 76, like you said, the Miracle of Richfield team. And in this game, the Cavs had 6 players in double figures, and they had 3 players with at least 20 points. It was a very balanced victory over the Bucks. Campy Russell had 22. Jim Clemens and Jim Brewer each had 20. Jim Jones and Roland Garrett each had 15, and Foots Walker had 11. So it kind of shows you how much balance and talent that Miracle of Richfield team had.
Now, Dusty, back in that time period, scoring 132 points, correct me if I'm wrong, not as common as it is today. Am I right on that?
Well, not on that night, because as I'm looking at the screen here and on the games of January 24th, Portland beat Golden State 125-123 in overtime. Philly beat Atlanta 130-116. The Knicks beat the Pistons 117-100. But you're right, Ted, obviously it was not the proliferation of points on the whole as you see right now. But yeah, the Cavs obviously had that ability because that night, obviously so many players played or scored so many points. And it obviously helped at that time when you're talking about 75-76. Not every team had as much depth as the Cavs did that year, which is why it's kind of disappointing that after the miracle of Richfield, they couldn't go on and win the NBA championship.
Well, one thing to remember about scoring that many points, which I think is extremely impressive, there's no 3-point line. I mean, everything is a single basket. That's the part that's just absolutely amazing. Dusty, as you look at that team, and I just looked at a couple quick things because that's for many different Clevelanders, that's a very special team. You know, you remember Joe Tate kind of got started with the Cavs at that time. So remember some of the calls that he made. I just looked at, some different stats. Here's the part that is very impressive. The Cavs that year had 5 players that played 82 games. I mean, can you just think about that now? You have many games in the NBA now where the guys are taking a, quote unquote day off, but Jim Brewer, Jim Clemens, Jim Jones, Dick Snyder, and Campy Russell all played 82 games. Now there's 4 guys that, in my opinion, are slackers on this team. Bingo Smith and Foots Walker, they only played 81.
Yeah.
So they really need to pick it up. And then Austin Carr and Nate Thurman only played 65. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a lot of games for 2 guys that were hurt. So obviously the game has changed dramatically, but the ability for these guys to play a lot, Dusty, was probably the key to their success.
Exactly. And there was no such thing as load management back in the mid-70s. So, yeah, you have 7 guys in the rotation that played either every game or every game but one. You had 9 guys who played at least 65 games. So when you have that, as we always say, your best ability is availability, and that team had it.
Load management. That's what Ted asked about for the podcast, and I said no. You gotta fire through, buddy. You gotta make it. Well, Dusty, great information. Very special team back in January 24th, 1976, as the Cavs had one of their biggest margins of victory, 43 points over the Milwaukee Bucks, 132-89. Thanks again, Dusty.
You bet.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Oh no, not a dad joke.
Hey, Ted.
Yeah.
When 2 vegans get in an argument, is it still called a beef?
That joke was horrible.
Wrapping up episode 107. Kind of ironic that it is 107, considering who our guest and our next show is, Ken.
Do you think we did that on purpose? We didn't even try to do it like that, did we?
I think if anybody thinks we did this on purpose, they're giving us way too much credit.
Well, Ted, I'll let you introduce who we're going to have on.
Oh, my gosh.
Put in the legwork to do this, and it should be probably one of the best interviews we've ever had on our show. And that says a lot because we've had some really good ones.
We are going to talk to legendary Cleveland radio personality, Jeff Kinsbach, former host and WMMS of the Buzzard Morning Zoo back in the 80s and early 90s, the top of the charts morning show. And I believe they were ranked the best station in the nation at one point. Instrumental in helping get the Rock Hall here. So he's going to join us to reminisce about his career in radio, getting to WMMS, and then what he's been up to since WMMS. He did not by any means fade into the woodwork. He worked down in Akron, and we'll talk to him about that. And he just recently retired. We'll tell you, at least he retired from regular broadcasting, but we'll find out what he's up to now. But Jeff Kinsbach, the Buzzard Morning Zoo, and they used to be on 100.7 WMMS. So when I saw episode 107, that's pretty ironic.
That is outstanding. I think the one thing we have to ask, it's either yourself or I, and people will remember this name. You need to ask about Mr. Leonard.
Maybe we can.
Where is Mr. Leonard even real? Was that a real person? I would love to know that. I heard that name so many times when my dad was driving me to school and doing all that. I was just like, and I would hear him on the air. But I need to know this. We have to write this down and ask Jeff.
Yeah. I'm going to make a note here, and we'll ask: is Mr. Leonard real? And if so, where is he now?
That'd be great. And our listeners will probably enjoy that too.
Anybody who, if you heard that show, you will love this interview, I'm sure. And if you didn't hear the show because you were too young, not around yet, boy, did you miss out on one of the great morning shows of all time in Cleveland radio.
It's cool for us. I mean, let's be honest. We being in, students of media, going to school. I mean, there's people we obviously looked up to. I mean, if you didn't look up to Jeff and Ed Flash Ferentz, with their show, I mean, that was it. And radio's changed, and we'll probably have a discussion about that too. But gosh, that was such a big deal. Listen to the Token Joke in the morning and all that other stuff. That was just a cool time. And I'm looking forward to talking to Jeff. That'll be cool.
I wonder if we could get him to blow something up.
Oh, and I have a feeling you wouldn't be able to do that now.
No, probably not. Wow. Little political incorrectness.
Yeah.
At least back then didn't hurt anybody. Nowadays, it's a whole different world.
Seeing that. Yeah. Well, Ted, great stuff. Great show this week. My gosh. And we did have a lot of Cleveland stuff. Hats off to all our Cleveland guests, Dusty Sloan, John Grabowski, obviously Destination Cleveland. And once again, just a wonderful opportunity to hear what's going on. Anything exciting going on for you this week?
I am headed to Florida for a trade show.
Oh, look at you.
I am so excited.
Are you in Orlando? Is that what?
Yeah. I was talking to my wife and I said, where are you going this week? She said, crazy. I said, you know where I'm going this week? And I won't repeat what she said to me at that point.
Yeah, we got to keep it PC here. So, oh my. Well, Ted, I hope you have a great trip. Look forward to catching up in a couple of weeks. Maybe you have some out and about stuff for us.
I'm sure I will.
Florida. That'll be great. Well, until then, just as a reminder to all our fans, we're just two middle-aged men in Cleveland.
Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland is sponsored by Westminster AV, custom audio-visual packages for all occasions.